How much should you charge for mulch in 2024? Well, I'll tell you immediately, but then I'll tell you a little more stuff. It's $150 per yard installed. Come check this out. This is what you call smart. We're on a commercial property right now. It's a restaurant. We back it right up into the garden bed. Boop, 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 boop. Dump it right in the garden bed directly. And then I'm gonna move it over and dump some more over there. So mulch covers, it depends on the shred of the mulch. It covers, if you look it up on Google, 160 square feet at 2 inches. But I think it's more like 140 square feet at 2 inches, because 2 inches is that, right? You want like 2.5 inch coverage. So, and how big is a yard of mulch actually? How do you tell? See this parking space? A parking space is, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 160 square feet. A yard of mulch is supposed to cover at 2 inches. I don't remember the last time I see a yard of mulch cover this much. So that's why I'm saying it's 140 square feet. So take 2 feet off of this parking space and fill this up at 2 inches. That's a yard. So when you're eyeballing it in the garden beds or measuring it, you could use a mulch calculator tool on Mr. Googs. But here's when your math might go off a little bit. Come over here. And when I say $150 per yard installed, I used to charge $65 per yard installed. It was insane. I wasn't making any money. Then my buddy Danny was like, this was years ago, he's like, bro, we get $100 a yard all day. I was like, what? So I started just telling the customers $100 a yard, up to 10 yards is $1,000. Anything above that, it drops to $85 per yard, right? Then it was $125 per yard, then $145 per yard. Now it's $150 per yard installed. That means that the mulch appears in the customer's garden bed for $150 per yard. Includes materials, transportation, everything. So you see how plants, you want to minus and subtract for the space of the plants, because plants take up space. So this whole area right here, but look at all this ground cover, see? And the lilies and the pines, the rose shrub, the yew shrubs. So I'm thinking like this whole area, you could put about a yard of mulch, this whole area, all the way from that end of the garden bed, all the way to here, would be a yard at 2 inches. Then this whole area of this whole garden bed, we're looking at 1, 2, 3 yards. 3 yards will cover all of this garden space. And I'd say 2 to 2.5 inches. Now, as part of this job, we also mulch those little islands out there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 islands. Whenever we mulch this property, I order 6 yards of mulch dumped into the back of my dump trailer. And so we put 3 here and 3 yards amongst these 4 islands. And come over, look how thick this is. And what's the math? What's 6 times 150? 900 bucks? Yeah. Now here's the next question people ask. My guy is done. How thick is this? All the way to there. That's 2.5 inches. That's maybe 3. But we want a nice thick coating to keep the weeds down, especially on a commercial property. And you want to charge your customer for it. Charge it to the game and let them know why. Be like, hey, let's put this down thick. Let's get a couple extra yards so we could put it down thick. Now, not too thick where you're suffocating the plants. Like this Bradford pear tree, it's called a mulch volcano. Will you ever see where they pile up the mulch all the way to here and then they go pack that mug down and they pack it? It looks good, but it's horrible for the trees and plants because it retains so much moisture that it creates a perfect environment for a fungal infection to come. And so it can actually rot out and kill the tree if it's piled in mulch volcanoes. I learned this from my friend Daniel Miraval, the certified arborist. You're supposed to have actually the mulch pulled away from the base so you can actually see the root flare of the tree starting to flare out, you want to visually see that, right? So right here I can see the dirt. Now, according to, if you ask a certified arborist, or my dog ditched the itch, this isn't even right. We actually should have taken a shovel and dug out, you know, at least a couple feet all the way down to the base of this tree, so the whole flare is exposed and the top of the roots are exposed. Not exposed, but I mean, so you can see them. And then you have mulch that gets thinner so the tree can breathe. The reason I'm saying, we're not doing that here, but the reason I'm saying that is because you don't want to pile stuff around the customer's garden beds, or you could come back a few months later and half the plants are dying and it's your fault because you didn't know, right? The next thing I want to point out with mulch, there's different kinds. This is dyed walnut brown. I think I get it for 33 bucks a yard. If you get it delivered, you're gonna have to pay a delivery fee. So there's brown, there's black mulch, there's something called Traverse City Cherry. Then there's just regular double shredded hardwood mulch. There's single and double shred. I don't really like it because it just looks kind of nasty. I like the nice dyed brown look. But then there's red mulch. And I have an entire video about 3 reasons why I hate red mulch. I'll put a link in the description below. And reason number 1, I hate red mulch, because it's red. It's horrific. So watch that video. The one other thing I want to say about mulch is, don't be afraid to charge your customer for doing what's right. Oh yeah, you can also remove mulch. If the mulch is getting piled too high in the customer's garden beds where it's suffocating the plants and they just keep putting down more every year, or they want you to put down more, you gotta be like, I have a customer right now, I said, hey, we cannot put any more mulch in your garden beds until first you guys pay us to come and excavate and remove all that mulch. It's so piled high, the plants are starting to suffocate. I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for your plants dying. So you might want to come in and scoop out and remove the mulch and charge them more than you would charge to install it. Figure out what your labor rate is and get all that out of there and go back to fresh mulch. Oh yeah, that was the next thing I was gonna say, is when you do mulch, there's bed prepping, okay? You might never want to install mulch until you first sell the customer the upsell and add-on and package of trimming all the shrubs and ornamental trees, pulling all the weeds, pruning the plants, going and edging out all the garden beds with a bed redefiner edger machine. Or we actually installed all this edging years ago, this brick, we did this. Or edging out with a shovel, cleaning it all up. Because let's say a customer has a natural garden bed and they've got all the edging needs to be dug out, a nice deep natural edge with sod. It's all growing into the garden bed all wonky. For you to dig all that out, you could literally, depending on the size of the, you could spend hours and you could spend the entire day just digging up all the edging, filling up wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow. Like, we have filled up thousands of pounds of just digging out edging and had to haul it to the dump. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even charge the customer for this. I thought we were just gonna just simply make an edge. No, you gotta dig all that out. So what you might wanna do is give the proper quote to the customer and say, hey, in order to do this the best way, we should thoroughly edge out all these gardens. I can't show you right now. I could show you over there, but that'd be a different video. So we could edge out all these garden beds, but it's gonna be an extra at whatever your labor rate is. Let's say it's $85 per man hour. You say it's going to be an extra $400 plus dumping fees at $60 per yard. It's going to be $520 to thoroughly edge out all these garden beds before we put in fresh mulch. And then if the customer doesn't understand the price, go get a shovel physically and dig out the edging and show them how much is in there. And they know. I've had so many, when you're super transparent with customers and you're honest with them and you just want to serve them at a high level, they're smart. They're like, oh, I know it's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work. And so that's the good thing. Oh, look at this nice fresh mulch. It is so thick and it's gonna keep the weeds down. Oh yeah, that's the next thing, pulling weeds. Garden bed maintenance. Pulling weeds from the root or pulling them up with a cultivator, charge by the hour, and quote your customers to pull all the weeds before you put the mulch down. All right, so on this property, this is a commercial property. All this garden bed area does not even belong to our customer, right? So I didn't even know. I was way underpricing anyways, but we're ordering extra mulch and we're mulching this whole area. And then the customer came out and he's like, my client came out and he's like, what are you doing? This isn't even our property. And I was like, he's like, it looks good, but it's not our property. I was like, oh. So if you're doing a commercial property, make sure you have very clear definitions of where to mulch and where not to mulch. We actually installed these drains. We maintenance these and clean these out. $150 per yard of mulch installed this year. If that intimidates you, try something more like 125 bucks per yard installed, right? If you can get mulch really cheap in bulk, you can get it for like 22 bucks a yard. I don't know. Charge what's right and do your math. All right, I'm Keith Kelfis. If you like this video, I'll put more mulch videos in the description below. And join my LevelUp Landscaping Business Workshop. It's totally free, where I go deep and I teach you the 3 levers that you must pull right now if you want to make more profit in your landscaping business. KeithKelfis.com/levelup and hit the subscribe button. Peace.